How are you kids doing today? All right, so first on, let's start this. How many of you guys have ever Googled something just to, find out what it was? And yeah, all of you guys, obviously, it's kind of what we do. And when you Googled something, how many of you guys went on Google Images to get a better idea of what it was? It's actually really common because as a society, we are really visual people. We are impacted more by what we see than by what we hear or by what we're told. And therefore, Google Images is actually kind of like an encyclopedia for our culture. If you ever want to know what something is, Google it. And that's kind of what I did. I wanted to know, hey, Google, what do you think a rebel is? So I went on Google. Have any of you guys Googled rebel as of yet? Any of you? OK. It was a little surprising, because I saw pictures of motorcycles, cameras, James Dean. I saw pictures of Confederate flags, child soldiers, terrorism, abandoned buildings. I actually saw a lot of images of destruction, of apathy, of violence. And that kind of broke my heart, because I'm like, really, world? You think that's what a rebel is? Because I can't think of a better word to describe the opposite of apathy. What's that feeling when you care so much about an idea that you do not care what's going to get in the way? You will do everything in your resource, everything in your power to make sure that that idea happens. That amount of caring and not taking no for an answer, I think that's what rebel is, not what Google Images is telling us. So basically, I don't know, who here is from Mississauga? All of you. And I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but we are the 6th largest municipality in Canada. That means we beat out Vancouver and Winnipeg in population. No, not so fast. Yet we're barely known on a national level, let alone international level. I can't even tell you, how many times do you guys go out, travel somewhere other than Canada, and someone's like, where are you from? And you're like, just outside of Toronto. I mean, not really Mississauga. And would somebody from Vancouver say, oh yeah, we're just next to a few other provinces? No, it's really tragic. You need to have dynamic, you need to have energy to stand out and to form a culture. And we don't have that in Mississauga. And it's heartbreaking. And the reason we don't have that is because one really important thing I can tell you guys, don't ever confuse your need to react with your ability to destroy. Don't think that because you're a rebel, you're going to come with negative connotation, because that's not fair and that's not true. It just means you're standing up for something. So the other thing, too, our new skyline. Who loves the new skyline? You guys like it? I don't. Oh my God, I don't like it at all. Because it's like mushroom people. You guys are living on top of each other without knowing who you're growing up above. It's not right. And I think that that's really detrimental to our culture, because you don't get to know your neighbors. Our entire civilization advanced because of our ability to communicate. And by living in these little stacked houses without knowing each other, without having that sense of community, you're depriving yourself of some of the most essential needs for us to be a community. And to change that, I mean, I'm not saying don't live in a condo, but what I'm saying is we think that privacy is something that we've confused with loneliness. We're isolated. We sit on Facebook and we're being active, when in fact we should know what's going on at the person who lives 3 doors down. We should know what's going on with people around us. So I came to Canada when I was 12 years old. I immigrated from Pakistan. And like all 12-year-olds, I thought Niagara Falls was down the street here, CN Tower was over there. And I was really disappointed. But not as disappointed as I was when I woke up facing a Costco and a highway. And it felt that for the next few years, those Costcos only multiplied, and that highway only grew longer. And I was never okay with that. And I'm really glad I was never okay with that, because it forced me to find something else constantly. Now, when I was 13, I got addicted. I got addicted to volunteering. It was the best thing ever. I was I was poor, and I knew there was always free pizza if I would volunteer. And I didn't have to just go anywhere. I got to go to music festivals, to film festivals. I got to go to museums, galleries. I got to go to these places and meet these really creative, energetic people who got it. And therefore, I was like, oh, Toronto gets it, man. Toronto's so rad. And while I was in Toronto, I was always bashing the suburbs. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Mississauga. Don't look at me. But then I actually met people from Mississauga who were in Toronto. And they told me, they're like, you know, there's a really rad community going on in Mississauga. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't see any of that. I just see Walmarts and Costco's. And they're like, no, no, look closer. If you go down to Streetsville, there's an amazing music community. And I loved music, and that was one way I could connect with people. And I went down to Streetsville. I was 15 years old, and I went to the Masonic Lodge. And I went to a show, and I left that day knowing the names of every single person in there, every single band, every single artist. I connected with them, and that was the first time I was like, wow, music has made Mississauga actually feel like a place I want to be in. And from there, I decided to put on my own events. And I wasn't scared to put on my own events because I was so naive. I was convinced that the only people who are going to show up are my friends. So it's like throwing a public party. And the fact was that it wasn't just my friends who showed up. Actually, hundreds of people started showing up to my events. And I started an event called the Underground Garage Sale. And I'm an illustrator, I'm an artist, and I had no venue to show that. So we decided to get everyone together, and you know, kids can sell whatever they want, literally, whatever you want. And there were some weird things. But it was important because it brought everyone together. It made you realize that, oh, that person's an amazing glassblower, that person's an amazing seamstress. And wait a minute, I'm a musician, I need clothing, I need merchandise, I need something. It brought everything together, and it was local. And I ran that for 8 years, and it's still going on, which is kind of rad and surprising. But that's because there's a demand. And it's the same with music. I ran RockThe Coliseum, and it's a free outdoors music festival. And in my first year, I was so excited. I went to Staples, and I cut all the posters by hand, and I flyered everywhere, went to every high school, posted stuff up. And my first year was just met with an amazing amount of rain. So there were tents flying everywhere. My AV crew ran away. It was a nightmare, and it was one of the most traumatizing things I've ever done. And I could have given up. I could have been like, this sucks. I want nothing to do with this. But I didn't. I was like, you know what? I know this sucked, but this is the only thing that feels right to me. So I'm going to try it again. And I did, and I'm really glad I did, because over the next 5 years, I got to bring over 300 artists from around the world. I got to, just get out there and play music I liked. I made personal mixtapes for you guys, and it was an honor. And that's one of the reasons why the city of Mississauga asked me to come out. I was like, you really want me to come out? Haven't I made your life hell? And they're like, no. So that was kind of cool. Anyways, I'm gonna make this a little bit shorter, but fact of the matter is, don't ever wait for something else to happen in the city, because it's not really going to unless you put yourself out there. And don't give me the excuse that you don't have the resources, you don't know the people, you don't know what to do. Because if something feels right, if you inherently believe that you need to start the next movement, then do it, because the good thing is there's really nothing stopping you here, because there is nothing per se to begin with. And leaving it up to you kids to do what I did and do it better. And yeah, thank you.